Ready to get started. Good evening. I would like to call to order the Keizer City Council in regular session. It is Monday, March 7th, 2022, and ask our city recorder to please call roll.
Councilor Herrera.
Here.
Councilor Reed.
Here.
Councilor Kohler.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here.
Council President Smith.
Is excused this evening.
Councilor Starr.
Here.
Councilor Duran.
Here.
And Youth Councilor Coleman.
Here. Thank you very much. If you are able, I invite you to rise and all join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all very much for joining us this evening. And you can see we are also continuing to work with our Zoom connections and so forth. So that's why you're going to see the screens. We're going to get used to doing this hybrid opportunities. Tonight, under special orders of business, we are going to start with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments Award presentation. Mr. Scott Dadson, who is the Executive Director of the Council of Governments. If you want to come up there, and then I will join you shortly.
I'd like to ask the mayor to come down. And Kathy, I'm going to read this verbatim. So, Mayor and Council, it's my honor to be here this evening to give out a very special award. The Gwen Vandenbosch Regional Leadership Award recognizes an elected official in Marion, Polk, or Yamhill County who demonstrates outstanding leadership in regional intergovernmental affairs. This year was actually awarded to two, and we have tonight the first awardee. Of course, she's first, and that is Kathy Clark. As a founding member of the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Initiative, she helped with the formation of a continuum of care that is locally led and locally controlled, the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, which has grown quickly to be its own ORS 190 entity after starting out under the COG umbrella. After the horrific wildfires took their toll on the Santiam Canyon, she was a partner when the canyon cities needed a meeting space and even helped care for and feed livestock at the fairgrounds until they could be reunited with their owners. She has served on the COG board since being elected as mayor in 2015 and served on the executive committee from 2016 to 2020, and actually she's come back on again, and we appreciate that. She has also served on the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study Policy Committee, Mid-Willamette Area Commission on Transportation, the League of Oregon Cities, CCTV, organizing festivals, and so much more. So it's with great honor that we'd like to present the Gwen Vandenbosch 2021 Regional Leadership Award to Kathy Clark, Mayor of Keizer.
So a week or so ago, as we were concluding the interviews for the city manager, I was reminded to get on the Zoom for the Council of Governments, and I knew about our co-recipient this year was Eric Swenson, the mayor of Woodburn, and they started reading what you just heard, and I'm going, wait a minute, that's not Eric. And realized that they had decided to not tell me about the other one, which was me. It is truly an honor to work with so many great partners in the Mid-Willamette Valley to make this place just so strong and vibrant. And I really appreciate the Council of Governments, but also all of you on our city council, because this is because we work together to make good things happen. So thank you very much. Now I get to be on the giving end. We have two very special proclamations this evening. The first I would like to present to our youth counselor in honor of and as a representative of the people of Ukraine. And I really appreciate our youth counselor, Miranda Coleman, reaching out to me and to Mayor Bennett to find a way to recognize and support all of the people in our community who are Ukrainian and just important members of our community. Whereas the people of the city of Keizer believe that all people shall be treated with dignity and respect, and that freedom and living peaceably with our neighbors are foundational to living with dignity and respect. And whereas the government of Russia has committed unprovoked acts of violent and deadly aggression against the people and the sovereignty of the people of Ukraine, and whereas the Keizer community includes people of Ukrainian heritage who are suffering loss of family and community as a result of the Russian government aggression, and whereas the Keizer community includes people of Russian heritage who are entitled to live in peace as members of our community, and that no threat or action against them shall be tolerated. And whereas aggression to deny people of freedom and basic human rights is an attack on humanity and shall not be tolerated, but condemned and opposed. Now therefore be it resolved and proclaimed that the mayor and the Keizer City Council, together with the people of the city of Keizer, condemn the aggression and violence by the Russian government against the people and nation of Ukraine, and stand fully in solidarity with the people across the United States in support of the Ukrainian people. And furthermore, our hearts go out to all of those who have lost their lives, have been seriously injured or displaced from their homes, and to the military and humanitarian personnel in the region taking action to preserve life and oppose this violence against the people of Ukraine. And furthermore, our Russian heritage community members shall be fully included in all our efforts and intentions of peace, supported in dwelling peacefully in their homes and businesses, and shall be actively protected from any harm or violence. And finally, we purpose to assist both individually and collectively to provide aid and comfort to the people of Ukraine. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the city of Keizer to be herein affixed this 7th day of March, 2022. I'd like to present this to Miranda Coleman, who is of Ukrainian heritage, and to all the people in our community, Ukrainian, Russian, human, that together we stand for peace.
All right, so as some of you guys know, my name is Miranda Coleman, and I am great-great-granddaughter to Nicholas and Anna Romanishin, who immigrated to America in the early 1900s from Ukraine. They settled in North Dakota, and in the 1940s, many families, including mine, headed to Oregon to seek new opportunities in agriculture and farming. Ever since I was a little girl, it has been instilled in me to be proud of my Ukrainian heritage. We did this by making ethnic foods and performing the arts such as dance and music. But this isn't about me. It is about Ukraine and the millions of people who reside there. Putin underestimated Ukraine's resistance and their willingness to fight for freedom and their cultural identity. They are courageous, resilient, perseverant, and have shown the world that they will lay down their lives for their miraculous place they call home. Sorry. My heart breaks for the beloved country of Ukraine. Innocent men, women, and children are dying at the hands of Putin, and we must stand for them, we must pray for them, and we must advocate for them. They are just as important as any of us, and they deserve to be recognized as such. To Mayor Kathy Clark and and the city council members, I would like to thank you immensely for the show of support to Ukraine. It means the absolute world to me, and it makes me so proud to call Keizer my home. Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. Thank you.
There are websites available that have organizations that are providing direct aid, and I encourage everyone to make sure that all efforts are directed where they will be the best used. Your prayers, your thoughts, and your support for all the people in our community make a big difference. Thank you, Youth Councilor Coleman, and thank you to all the people here who are supporting peace in our world today. It is now my pleasure to do this next proclamation, and there are elected leaders both here and in the audience, women who are leading in our community and who represent the leadership of women and the accomplishments of women in our society. So I'm going to call out, after I read this proclamation, Colleen Bush from the Keizer Fire District and Corey Falardo, the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, to join Councilors Reed and Starr and myself for the presentation of this next proclamation. Whereas, in the human experience of civilization, exploration, invention, and governance, men and women have worked together, yet, as noted by President Jimmy Carter, too often the women were unsung and sometimes their contributions went unnoticed. But the achievements, leadership, courage, strength, and love of the women who built America was as vital as that of the men whose names we know so well. And whereas the United Nations has sponsored International Women's Day since 1975, when adopting its resolution on the observance of International Women's Day, the United Nations General Assembly cited the following reasons: to recognize the fact that securing peace and social progress and the full enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms require the active participation, equality, and development of women, and to acknowledge the contribution of women to the strengthening of international peace and security. And whereas the 2022 theme is Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope, as both a tribute to the ceaseless work of caregivers and frontline workers during this ongoing pandemic, and also a recognition of the thousands of ways that women of all cultures have provided both healing and hope throughout history. And whereas recognition, celebration, and inspiration of women's achievements promote the health, well-being, and success of women and girls worldwide. And whereas the City of Keizer recognizes that celebration of Women's History Month is part of our values of treating all people with dignity and respect. Now I, therefore, Kathy Clark, Mayor of the City of Keizer, here with the Keizer City Council assembled in regular session, do hereby proclaim March 2022 as Women's History Month and encourage all the people of Keizer to celebrate, honor, and promote the achievements of girls and women in our community, state, nation, and world. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Keizer to be affixed this day, 7th day of March, 2022. And with that, I would invite Councilor Starr, Councilor Reed, and Youth Councilor Coleman to join me in the front with Colleen Bush and Corey Falardo. I know, turn a little bit sideways because that way we have to a little better. All right, for all the women leaders in our community, this is for all of you. Get my leg down? You know.
How you doing?
Can we do one without that? Yes. We can do with them without masks.
Right.
And my glasses.
Mine printed one, it's not there.
Set.
Do you have the entire paper?
I'm sorry.
This will be on display here, but all these amazing women.
No, that's the resolution that goes with it. Yeah, right here. Flip it over. Keep going. No, see, it should be collected. That's cool.
That's weird, because it looks like there's two of the same staff reports in there.
This is the,
That concludes this evening's special orders of business, but it certainly doesn't conclude the work that we will continue to do to make Keizer a leader
I think
in so many areas in our community.
I don't see the ordinance.
Committee reports this evening.
Exhibit is part of the
Looking. I don't have anybody signed up from a city committee to give a city report. Is there anybody I missed who is here to give a report? Don't rush all at once. Okay. That takes us to public comment. This time is provided for citizens to address the council. This time is provided for citizens to address the council on any matters other than those on the agenda scheduled for public hearing. We have no public hearing scheduled for this evening, and I have 3 people signed up. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge, for the record, written comment from Bob Shackelford, the president of the Keizer Chamber of Commerce Board, and this is the proposal for the Keizer Fest at Keizer Rapids Park, and that is here. And I believe that, Bob, are you signed up to speak as well? Yes. Okay, so this will go with that. But I am going to go ahead and start off with Carolyn Holman, and then I'll go to Bob Shackelford, and then I'll have Judy Farmhurst back cleanup. Carolyn Holman, good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, councilors. I'm here tonight on behalf of West Keizer Neighborhood Association. We just printed our second newsletter, and I have a copy for each one of you. We'll be distributing that by email and also doing printed copies in our brochure boxes around the neighborhood. And we're going to have extra copies at our meeting on Thursday. And I'm happy to say that we're looking forward to Mayor's State of the City comments on Thursday night, 7 o'clock here at the community center. And just as we head into the budget season, I just want to extend our thanks to the city for continuing support of neighborhood associations. I think we have 3 now that are getting stronger, and as I understand it, a 4th one may be forming in Northwest Keizer, which is exciting. And we're happy to hear that. I think it's a good sign for continued citizen involvement, and just wanted to thank you all for that. So that's
All right, any questions for Carolyn? I did get a chance to see your newsletter online, and absolutely outstanding work. If y'all haven't seen it, it's beautifully produced and great content, so well done.
Yeah, Rob Witters does the layout, does a super job for us. So he's one of our board members, so it's all volunteer. Golly, what a concept.
I know, quality volunteers, hey, that's Keizer, so
Thank you.
fantastic. All right, we will see you Thursday. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand that there is an event tomorrow night that the West Keizer Neighborhood Association and the other 2 organizations are combining to put on. Is that correct?
That's very good.
Well, Patty is in charge of that, and I think Carol had said something about it quite a long time ago, but we hadn't heard anything since. But I will be there, so.
Yes, tomorrow evening
Tomorrow night, yes,
at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock here,
Yeah.
yes.
And that's the candidate forum for...
CD6 candidate forum.
Yeah, 6 candidates, I believe.
There will be
We're gonna-
7 of them there, it looks like.
7, okay.
7 out of what, 12, I think? 12 people running for Congressional District 6, and they're coming here because every one of your votes is very, very important in all elections, so I hope people will be able to come and participate. Is it being broadcast?
They're working on that.
Okay. That would be very good to be able to see and hear from candidates for Congress. Very good. I'm planning to drop by for that. All right, let's go then to Bob Shackelford, Dave Wallery, Jonathan Thompson, Corey Filardo about Keizer Fest. And we've got maps available, and we're going to hear about this change for Keizer Fest.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Councilors. You got email today of this proposal. I don't know if you've all read it yet. I can go over some points so the public can hear it as well. One, I want to say our prayers go out to Carol. I know she's not been doing well, and she's probably watching, so we're rooting for you, Carol. So anyway, the proposal was to move the Keizer Fest down to Keizer Rapids Park. Dave has done a great job where it's at. We've kind of bounced around the city, and we're ready to kind of get a stamp somewhere where we can stay on a regular basis, year after year. The business where it's at now it's worked for us for the last few years, but unfortunately, the parking's been an issue with the Elks and the tavern and JC's and the businesses around that it's just not making happy. So the location again is not making a lot of the businesses happy around the area. They put up with it, but as we went over years and years before, we have issues with the businesses addressing the issues with hurting their business. So I'll let you guys read that, but the benefit, the main benefit, not to say the Lions Club, which I spelt wrong on there, you'll notice, but not that the Lions Club was a bad spot, but I just think that Keizer, about to celebrate its 40th birthday, and we're growing with leaps and bounds. I mean, we need more space, and if we continue to do this year after year, it'd be nice to have it on a regular basis. We've changed the date. It was in May, and we used to have it in May because we celebrated the irises bloomed. The weather is just so unpredictable that time of the year that we have golf tournaments, we have parades, the Iris Festival. We still love the Shriners, you know, for everything they've done in the past. And I know the family's kind of going different directions and stuff, but so it's just not what it used to be. And the weather is the main reason. So we've moved it to the second week of August. I looked at a lot of events to see what would be the best dates to do this. And now a lot of them might have, after the pandemic, changed their dates, but as of that second week, it was pretty open, nothing really too close that would affect us. But to get to the point on the move in the park is you have that map that I've given you, and there's a big printout that I had made for, if you can't see it very well, but I'll need that before I leave. It's got the master plan and it's got the proposal kind of where we'd like to have the Keizer Fest. We'd like to have it in the same spot every year, but we know the master plan might be changing, and you have volleyball and soccer and pickleball and a lot of different venues. We'd like to try to incorporate it somewhere where it could be every year. This year, we'd like to just start it on the, what would that be, next to the dog park entrance from Shamawa to the big toy parking lot. There's a huge field there that's flat and being unused. And then we have pretty good power at the restrooms that we could, with logistics with city and Bill, to be able to maybe put a little more amperages for the tent and all the vendors. We feel that it's just a great area. I've talked to a bunch of farmers. I met with them out there. They've kind of told me what it would take to get the grass and everything flattened out. Some have stated to roll it, and some of them stated to plow it and re-level it and then roll it. Those are things we can work on as well. as we get into this and if we can get this to happen. Couple things. I've spoken to the chief of the fire department. I've spoken to Chief Teague. I've spoken to Bill. Everyone seems to be on the same plan. It'd be a great spot. Of course, there's a lot of logistics and a lot of things we'd have to do. I think most of the city council, I tried to hold it as long as I could. I've been working on this for about 3 months. And a few of you have got a hold of me and thought it was a great plan. But let's see here. So the fire department, there's a fire hydrant right there on the corner, which makes the fire department really happy. So I'll wrap this up, and then if you guys got any questions, or if Dave and Corey would like to talk, or Jonathan. I realize that we need to get together, not only with you guys again, but West Keizer Neighborhood Association. We got to try to make the neighbors happy. I don't know, the amphitheater's already going on that time of year. It would be 3 nights, once a year, to have this held every year. We want to go to the association meetings and get together with them and see how we can make it all happen for everyone. The music's loud, and I know the amphitheater, I think, shuts down at 9 or 10, and of course this would go on until midnight. 2 nights or 3 nights?
2 nights.
2 nights. So my plan is the way we would set the tent up and stuff is have all the speakers and the music heading towards Jerry's place, towards the Keizer.
Awesome.
Jerry will be happy. We'll make him happy. But so anyway, I don't know, there's a lot still has to go into this, but I've been doing a lot before I've got in front of the city. And then I thought, well, I need to get in front of the councilors and everyone to really get good approval for this. And then we have a lot of work to do. My whole board's here tonight. Could you guys all stand up? Keizer Chamber Board, they're all here.
No way.
They got my back, so I'm glad they showed up, but we all have a lot of work to do if we can get this done. So if you got any questions or you guys want to talk?
I think you pretty much hit all
Yeah.
the spots.
Happy to answer any questions for you.
All right.
And you got the map. You guys can keep that map. I don't know if that'll be displayed
Dave, get up the mic,
anywhere.
dude. Get
Get
the mic
closer to the mic so people on.
so we can hear.
Yeah, can hear.
TV.
Oh,
Sorry.
Councilor Roll.
I just wanted you to get close to the mic. And, I read the material, if I may. And I've talked to you a little about this. And I think it's, it sounds like you covered all the bases. I like the idea that we don't have to hear from the businesses every year. And I also think it's a good location. The questions I had were traffic, West Keizer Neighborhood Association, which you just mentioned. And logistically, it sounds like I think it's a good idea. I think it's long overdue. And
Well, you hit on something real critical there, Roland, is, every year, even since 1980 is when we started this at the St. Edward's Church. And Keizer was a lot different back then. And it's a lot bigger now, the infrastructure, there's lots of neighbors. You literally could hear the bands play from St. Edward's Church all the way to your house, all the way to my house, which was on Cummings Lane. You could hear it. And it's not changed over the years, except when it was out at the station. But you can still hear it. We built this park out there. It's for entertainment. It's for a lot of things, for families and friends. And so we think that's a perfect place to now move that. I've been doing this since 1986. So I've moved it 5 times now. I want to make this the last time. So we're looking for your guys' help and support to do this.
And last question I had was, have you talked to Clinton as far as scheduling, what he's got going? Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
Sounds like I'm in. I think
Okay.
it's a good idea.
Any other
Myself.
questions?
Councilor
Thank you.
Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have a question about, you mentioned the ground prep as far as plowing or rolling or whatever, and then the electrical. Those both sound pretty expensive to me.
are you anticipating that is a partnership, or are you doing fundraising for that? Or, I know it's early in the process in terms of figuring out logistics, but I was just wondering what your thoughts on that were.
In the past, most of this stuff has been done by volunteers and donations to some extent. There has been money involved that had to have been spent. The property where we want to put the tent for this year, and we know that we've seen the grand plan for what the city wants to do here in the future. So we may have to move it a couple times. We don't know yet. It depends on what goes on with what is projected to go on there. The ground does need to be plowed. It needs to be churned, it needs to be flattened out, and it needs to be rolled. The electrical, there's not enough there. Bob and I went out there on Saturday and looked at the power, and there's 200 amps out there for us to use. We needed last year 300 amps. We surpassed, we had 200 amps at the Lions Club. We had to bring in a generator to fulfill that. That's because this thing is getting bigger, and it took Oktoberfest a long time to grow, and they put their own power system in out there now. We'll probably need another 200 amps. You can't go just 100 amps. You have to go either 2 or 4. I talked to an electrician this morning that's done work out there. He didn't do work at the restrooms, but he's done our work, and he did the work out for the auditorium out there. And he thinks the power, the green box that's there, the transformer, is big enough to bring in another 200 amps. It's expensive, and once it's there, it's not going away. So that's where we may need a little help. And I don't know, but it could be beneficial for future on what you guys are going to propose in the future, where that could be, you're going to need more power anyway. So anyway.
So to answer the question, yes, we want to partner in the electrical part of it. I've talked to a couple farmers that we all know that are willing to bring their equipment and till it and roll it and get it all ready. The question gets brought up though about spraying. So I know the city has to spray out there already. You probably take care of the dog park and have to control the weeds somehow. So farmers are a little leery on spraying chemical when you have a dog park and the big toy. I don't know if it'd be something that the park could be shut down for maintenance for one day and they spray it and then till it. But we have talked to the farmers. I think we can get the volunteer work out of that side of it. But again, like Dave said, and we have electricians that we know that'll probably give us a lot of free time, but there's material. But most of the main box is right there, and the main PGE box is right next to it. So Dave and I aren't electricians, but it looks simple to me. I don't know. I don't know cost-wise, but I think we can get enough volunteers. And I know the city's got a grant for this master plan, and it's going to benefit the city once this power goes in anyway. But there's a lot of logistics and a lot of stuff that, we have to address. But so far, we have a lot of volunteers that are ready to roll. Randy Miller, he's always there to help, and he's told me whatever you guys need, he'll be there to help. So anyway, I hope that answered it. Lord.
Thank you.
And the further on the spraying thing, what we're talking about is 50 wide by 150 deep. It's just the footprint of the tent. We would like to kill the weeds, everything, and then grind it up after it's dead and make it all nice and flat. And we're not talking about the whole field. We're just talking about the footprint of the tent.
No, we're talking about the whole field. All the way to Shamawa. Because we need a good parking area, and we don't want people tripping in mole holes and gopher holes. So instead of just the tent, sorry, Dave.
I didn't know that.
If we got the farmers there, they got the equipment, they can go all the way to Shamawa and roll that and flatten it. And the parking in August, it'll be dry, dirt, hard, and it'll be safer than right now. It looks flat, but if you walk out there, there's a lot of mole holes and we don't want any tripping or anything. So, sorry, Dave.
That's okay. That's all I have. Unless we have some questions.
You're Councilor Reed?
I'm
Okay.
Satisfied,
Counselor
thank
Kohler, question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a little concern, as I spoke with Mr. Lawyer about this, he said there may be some EPA permit things that need to happen in order to till that up, and so have you consulted with him specifically about that?
No, so I've just talked to the farmers.
Microphone.
So I've just talked to the farmers, and the farmers are telling me that what they spray is just a wide leaf killer. It just kills the Oregon grape, broadleaf, and the dandelions. They made it sound like it's not like Roundup, but I don't know what it is. But again, like you said, those are questions I need to dig into, and that's a farmer question probably, and I don't know if it's different because it's on city property rather than agricultural, so.
From what I understand, that there's some kind of EPA permit if it's not farmland and you're just moving a whole bunch of land around, surface around, that there may be some permit thing that you have to get. So want to double check that with him.
Definitely, we'll check into that for sure.
Okay. Counselor Starr, do you have any questions or comments?
I had two that I wrote down. Have you thought about any, just thinking about the parking and the traffic issue down to the event, have you thought about doing an off-site parking option with a shuttle to and from a regular, okay, good, I saw thumbs up, love it, moving right along. So with the concerns of tripping and the mole holes and all of that and the amount of work that would go into that, has there been a thought about any other alternative flooring down over that area, meaning like plywood or some type of other alternative flooring that you could put down that would?
I think it'd just be way too expensive. I mean, it's easy to churn dirt and level, but to lay plywood and all over everything, the cost of lumber's out of control. But
Okay.
I think really the farmers, we till and they plant grass seed every year, and those fields, are with the grass and everything are nice and flat. So churning it, dragging it, rolling it, it'd be nice and flat, and by August it'd be rock hard. So we wouldn't be watering out there. But to answer your question, I think the plywood would be quite a bit. We usually fill the tent with sawdust. I don't even know if we'd have to do that this year if we had a nice base, but we do that for the theme pretty much inside the tent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Duran, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't. They've asked. I've gone back and forth on this with them, so I don't have any other questions myself.
All right, thank you. And to the traffic and so forth, one of the nice things we have, can't hear me through this thing, is that we have finished sidewalks and bike lanes all the way down Shamawa, plus a bike ped in through the, off of Tate Avenue from the West Keizer area. So we have ways for people to get there safely to walk and bike, which would encourage them. And since we have 7-day-a-week transit that goes all the way down to 15th, there's a conversation we can have there as well with helping people know where that they can take transit down to, is it 15th where they turn? No, they turn at Shoreline. But still, that's not a bad walk on a pleasant summer evening.
Hot August night.
Pick one.
Okay, I just went to that. Thank you for that earworm. So thank you for working on this. I think that you've brought a lot of really good ideas. Obviously, the coordination with the city, since it is on city property, and obviously the volunteerism is going to help improve this, not only for this event, but coordinating with going forward with what we have planned in the master plan. So I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses, and the many volunteers in the community for helping this event evolve so we can still keep celebrating Keizer. Just do it different. All right.
And I'll just put in really quick that the theme for Keizer Fest this year is Where Were You in '82? So we're going to party like we're in the 80s all year long. So come dressed your best to Keizer Fest this year.
All right. Some of us were not born then. All right. Thank you very much. So at this point, I'd like to invite up Judy Fromhurst. She's with Joys of Living Assistance Dog event. And so people know who are following along, that is going to be the next administrative action. We'll be discussing the request for a community center fee waiver. And so Judy, I'll let you tell us about the Joys of Living Assistance Dogs and the event coming up.
All right. Can I take this off?
Yes.
Oh, whew, thank you. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Clark, for asking me to speak tonight. And thank you for the Keizer City Council for considering our request for a venue waiver for our wonderful graduation coming up on the 19th of March. Joys of Living Assistance Dogs, or lovingly called JLAD, J-L-A-D, was established in 1999. We raise and train assistance dogs to support and assist persons with disabilities. We are dedicated to creating a cohesive team focused on building life of greater freedom and independence. Our dogs are specifically trained for folks that have mobility, PTSD, and anxiety challenges. And believe me, these dogs love to work. They're just awesome. Our primary trainers are actually the adults incarceration at the Eastern Oregon State Correctional Institute in Pendleton. We also have dogs at the Oregon State Hospital. And we have one more prison that we're working with that I honestly don't have the name of because it's so new. The ASCs are amazing trainers. They are absolutely amazing. And they are specifically selected to train our dogs. So it's not just any prisoners. These guys are actually handpicked by Joy to train our dogs. Our program gives them a sense of purpose and continues through and after they're released. We actually have a couple of parolees that are actually working with us right now that were in the program in the prison. Our dogs rotate through the prison training program and are ready to experience life on the outside when they come to us, which is a volunteer socializer, what I get to do, and I absolutely love it. Our socializer team, which we have about 25 socializers, are amazing too. We actually take the dogs, they use labs and retrievers, and that the AICs have worked with, and let them experience stores and restaurants and church services and parks and riding in cars. And they actually come and live with us too. Elaine, say. Up. This is Elaine. She is 15 months old and she's been with me since October. And she's wonderful and she's on her way to being a good service dog. Typically about 20 to 22 months, sometimes longer, sometimes less, is how long we train them, from teensy tiny babies. And I've actually had the opportunity to help deliver a bunch of puppies, and a couple of the dogs that I helped train are graduating this year. So we're so excited. On March 19th, 15 recipients will be handed the leash of their service dog. And that, there won't be a dry eye in the room, I'll tell you what. Our graduation is in fact open to the public. The Wild Pear is catering and Just Us Girls is doing the bartending. And you both know those wonderful organizations. This graduation event, leash handoff, is in fact a rite of passage. It is a celebration that will affect you or any of the attendees for the rest of their life. Like I said, there will not be a dry eye in the room. We've got videos of the dogs as they grow up, and their leash is handed off to the new recipient, of which they're actually training with their dogs right now in our team training. It's like sending your child off to college. You're sad, but you're so happy too, because they're going off to do bigger and better things. And that's what our dogs do. They provide the independence for their people. This is open to the public. If you go on to www.joydogs.org, O-R-G, you can find more information on purchasing tickets for the 19th of March. There's also tabs for volunteer opportunities and donations as well, because we are in fact a nonprofit, and these dogs are amazing. Are there any questions I can answer?
All right. Questions for Judy about the program and about this event coming up? The other place that we see these dogs a great deal, which Judy did not mention, is at Volcano Stadium. Because Judy brings them out there every summer, so they're in all that chaos and excitement and everything. These dogs are out there so they can experience all the different dynamics that are going on, so they're prepared for those interactions out in the community for their people. And I don't know if all of you know that Ms. Farmhurst is also a veteran yourself. And this is very important for veterans. And so my question to you is, particularly with the PTSD, what these dogs mean to veterans who are receiving these dogs.
Okay. We actually give a number of dogs free to a number of veterans, as many as we can, and say, obviously, in black for purposes of money, because we are
Closer to the mic if you can.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
We do actually give dogs to the veterans, a few of them every year. I think we're actually giving 5 this year, to 5 of the 15 to veterans this year. They get them for free.
And then as I've had a chance to watch as these dogs learn, to read the behavior of someone who is experiencing PTSD, and then how they very quietly intervene. It's an amazing process to watch as these dogs are trained to assist their people.
Yep. I actually just had an experience Friday. I was at a funeral of one of the matriarchs of my town, West Dayton, and it was a crowded room. Elaine was under my chair, and all of a sudden she calmly got up and went in under the chair of the gentleman that was sitting across from me. And his hands, I've got a picture of it, and his hands are completely clenched, which is one of the signs for them to intervene for purposes of PTSD. And she crawled in under his chair, and he reached down and he petted her a few times. And he just physically relaxed. And he looked at me and he smiled because, we're at a funeral. And he smiled because my dog is actually over there helping him. And like Joyce says, you just let him run with it. She was behaving, she was doing what she was supposed to be doing.
That is fantastic.
It was awesome.
All right, any other questions? So thank you so much for bringing Elaine tonight, and thank you for your service with the Joys of Living Assistance. And we will take this up under administrative action.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy. Let's go. That is all the people I have signed up for public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? All right, then let's go ahead to administrative action, and this is item 8A. My mouth is so dry. Community Center fee waiver for the Joy of Living Assistance Dog event. Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Recorder Davis has dealt with this issue and has planned to speak to you tonight.
Thank you, Wes. Mayor Clark and City Council members, we did receive a request, which was in your packet, from the Joys of Living Assistance Dogs for a waiver of the Community Center room fee for their dog graduation and fundraising event on March 19th. The city's resolution states that Keizer-based 501c organizations may host fundraiser activities using 2 medium rooms or large ballroom for a base use fee of $500. This fee shall include the use of the facility and amenities. The user will be responsible to pay for fees associated with the required staffing. The Joys of Living JLAD is a Keizer-based 501c organization and qualifies for the $500 rate. Staffing required for this event would be approximately $140, which is for setup during event time and post cleanup. In addition, since they are serving alcohol at the event, there's security required, which would be an additional $200. So the total amount with the $500, the staffing fee, and the alcohol security is $840. I presented a few options for you in the staff report, if you would like to consider discussing them, and the waiver. So, if you have any questions about the community center, I can answer that.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on the staff report? Or the options? Counselor Starr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Can you educate me on what the $500 rental fee, is it to cover costs? Help me understand the fee. Is it a revenue stream, or is it just strictly a cost recovery?
It is a revenue stream. The regular rate for probably this event would be around $1,200 probably for the time that they're going to use the community center. So that's an option. So it's a revenue stream for the community center. The hard costs are what we pay out in staffing and security.
Thank you.
Great question, thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay, then I'll go to Councilor Reed for a motion.
I move that the Keizer City Council waive the fundraiser rental fee of $500 and staffing costs of $140 for the Joy of Living Assistance Dogs event on March 19th, 2022.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council waive the fundraiser rental fee of $500 and staffing costs of $140. And parenthetically, that is option 3. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. For the Joys of Living Assistance Dog event on March 19th, 2022. Discussion. Looking. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent. Looking forward to that event very much. All right, that takes us then to item 8B, which is an ordinance adopting the Parks and Recreation Master Plan dated December 2021, amending ordinance numbered 87-077, repealing ordinances 2008-570, 2014-712, 2016-745, and 2016-749. So we'll start off with that. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, it's my understanding that because of the bulk of the packet, that the ordinance was not included in the packet, and it is the city attorney's opinion that this needs to come back to you after it has been included. And so I will defer to the city attorney's judgment and let him answer any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Wes. Madam Mayor and Council, shortly after the meeting began, I flipped through the packet every meeting, but apparently I flipped too quickly. My page 11 of the packet is the staff report, and the very next page, page 12, is Exhibit A. And the actual ordinance itself somehow did not get in there, so we need to have it actually before you to adopt. There's a resolution too, but the resolution does not make sense to adopt until the ordinance is adopted, so I would suggest not adopting that either. So unfortunately, we'll have to come back next meeting for this, and my apologies.
Okay, so this will be then moved on to the March 21st meeting. And just as a tactical matter, does the entire master plan have to be included in the packet again at that point? Okay.
Well, actually, yes.
I just
It's
thought
an
better of it.
ordinance. Because it's an ordinance, it
Yeah.
has to be, yeah.
I was hoping to save
It's
some.
actually attached in the ordinance book like that, so there's no question. The reason we do that, of course, is so there's no question what version was adopted. So it's in the book, actually attached. That's the reason for it.
That makes sense, okay. I was just thinking the size of emailing that packet, but I know it's not paper, but still. Oh, that's true. Well, at least we can swap out those pages. Okay. All right, so item 8B is then moved on to the 21st. Let's go on to item 8C, which is the Community Prosperity Funding Economic Development Priorities. City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our city finance director has prepared the staff memo for this and will be prepared to speak to the issue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Wes. Madam Mayor, City Council, at the January 18th meeting, you gave the authorization to enter into an extension of an agreement with Marion County It provides for $15,000 per year for 2 years. At that meeting, we talked a little bit about some of the projects that we could do with this, but you wanted me to come back with a little more information. In addition, you wanted me to run some of these ideas by the Community Diversity and Engagement Committee. That committee did meet on March 1st and discuss some of the options. They walked away with lending their support to the revitalization plan public investments. That's basically looking at investing in our focal point type of areas to provide more places for residents to gather along River Road. In addition, they also lended their support to creating some kind of a food truck pod on city property. The primary interest was on property located on River Road. However, as a backup location somewhere near the transit center would be a close second. In addition, the committee is interested in seeing additional economic development type opportunities directed toward the youth of the city, and specifically to provide additional options for after-school activities. So that could be something that we could look at as how we allocate next year's $15,000. So with that, I did provide a little more information on some of the projects. I also included a map in the packet of all of the city-owned properties. The primary areas are out by Volcano Stadium, and then also some of the properties right next to the Transit District Center. Those are the main areas. If we were to look to do something, that would be something to consider. With that, I won't really belabor a lot of the projects unless you want me to go into a little bit more detail. So with that, if you have any additional questions, I'd be free to address those. Otherwise, if you could, by minute motion, give us a little bit of guidance as to the direction you'd like us to go with this $15,000, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So $15,000, you can get some small projects done. I mean, you can't do wholesale property redevelopment and so forth. So we're looking at some small projects or partnerships. I appreciate very much the Community Diversity Engagement Committee helping to bring some focus to maybe some areas to look at. These are going to be small projects or maybe an opportunity to provide some grants to property owners who would like to enhance their properties for community gatherings. So that was something I'm kind of throwing in there where there might be a partnership because that's probably how we're going to get some more mileage out of these dollars. So thoughts on the on this or other areas that leaped out to you when you read this on where these dollars could do the most good? Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Tim, for the umpteenth time, can you remind me, because I know I ask you this every single time, when does the money have to be spent, and does the 15,000 carry over into the next fiscal year? I'm so sorry, I keep asking the same question.
With these dollars, I would have to go back and look, but I believe we have a year to spend them.
So we could theoretically lump the two 15,000 into one $30,000 project?
We could do that, yes, and that's what we have done in the past.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Other questions or comments? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess, it's really difficult for me to, these two recommendations that the Community Diversity Engagement Committee came up with, this is really great for a lot of people in Keizer, primarily focusing on the gathering places. But I guess I don't really have, without some kind of quote or even, logistical plan or, it's just hard to be able to have opinion about this when we don't have specifics. So maybe at this point, if we could perhaps direct staff to get some quotes on a few things so that we can consider something a little bit more concrete that might be more helpful?
We just have to have an idea of where we should direct these dollars. What we did last time was we did some grants with businesses. This was at the beginning of the pandemic, and we got some just small grants out the door as quickly as we could. I think the recommendation I'm hearing from the committee, and I think what we're looking at is where can we invest these dollars to get some, maybe some longer term benefits. So let me float an idea by all of you and see if this is something that you're interested in doing. Gathering places was a theme that I picked up from the staff report. I wasn't at the meeting for the committee. Food brings people together. Food truck pods are kind of that nexus for that. But out by the transit center, that property is very undeveloped. And that is going to be higher value land. It's also not terribly walkable from neighborhoods. May I suggest that we look at putting together a program where businesses along River and Cherry, in our River Cherry Overlay District, that would like to either establish or expand a food pod, come to us with proposals that we could then do a grant between 5 or the entire 15 for them to then create a food pod or gathering space in that private business area. That's where I thought we might be able to make some progress there. I'm thinking the Wallery Plaza area, all these different nodes that we've already identified in the River Cherry Overlay District, and then we can partner with a business that would like to have a food pod, much like Copper Creek has done. If they wanted to perhaps enhance that food pod area, they could come to us with a proposal, a cost, and then we can see with them what that would buy in terms of creating public gathering spaces. Thoughts? Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I like that because, the city-owned properties are limiting, very limiting. And one of the other purposes behind this, and this came up in our discussion too, is this kind of, supporting this kind of gathering place with food truck involved in that is also helping small businesses. So, with those kind of dual purposes, the helping small businesses and creating gathering places, I think that and then take it a step further in terms of the hosts, I think that's a good partnership.
What do you think? Councilor Sarr?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that's a great idea, asking for proposals. I would ask that we maybe consider if there's, how do I put this? If there are proposals submitted that we don't think are going to be sufficient or meet the need, that we maybe come back and look at a plan B. I don't want to see us locked into something on River Road and then not get a proposal or something that is sufficient.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, this would be in the River Cherry Overlay District, so you're looking at River Road and Cherry, a little more broadly.
Sure, and there was a member of our Community Diversity Engagement Committee who is in the restaurant business and very much encouraged us to keep that on River Road or near Keizer Station, just for purposes of the sheer number of people and accessibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's on transit, and so it's a lot easier to reach and so forth. This would take, what I don't want to do is create a tremendous amount of work for staff. This would have to be something simple to administer where an existing business has property that they would like to, where they either have a food pod or would like to make it nicer and bring the costs and so forth. But again, this is a small grant where they would make those improvements and it'd have to be a reimbursement grant. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I like the idea of using some of that to go with development of something on River Road. I also as I look at this and consider what this is and how can we get the best bang for our buck for the long term for Keizer, and I wonder if it still wouldn't be a good idea to look and see for part of those funds at least to go to expanding our urban growth boundary, because in the long run, that's going to help our small businesses and our whole community a whole lot. I mean, it's going to make a world of difference for our community in the long run.
So toward the cost of doing that next step.
Whether it's a next step report that we need, I'm not suggesting we take all of it and throw it at that, but necessarily not put all of it on a food truck either.
Right.
And I'm certainly not in favor of putting the food trucks on city property where the property is worth a ton more money in other ways.
So I do have one other idea to put out there, and then my ask would be for staff to come back with how this would work. So again, not a lot of time into it, but come back with, okay, if you want to do this, this is the steps it would have to entail. We have an area that is city-owned property that I've floated the idea for quite a while of making some improvements so food trucks could go out there, and that is the Charge House property next to the amphitheater. That would provide opportunity for events to come in, for food trucks to be out there, for community gathering, but that space is not sufficiently improved at this point to be able to do that. And that would, this is not city property, that would be used for other purposes. To Councilor Kohler's point, it would enhance the ability for the community to use that space for events. I just want to float that out there. I talked with our former city manager, Chris Epley, about this many times when we went back and forth. Because that land where the Charge House used to be could then have the electrical, water, and other, and lighting to make that space even more usable for community gathering. That would be an alternative that I'd like to throw out to you as well. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I did bring that space up in the discussion, and because it is so temporary in terms of events, that wasn't seen as a great idea for the small businesses themselves. I mean, yes, it would be fantastic in the summer months, but on the long term, the preference would be the high traffic of River Road. So, and maybe we can do a little bit of both, but I did float that particular, the spot in our discussion, and it wasn't seen as terribly desirable for those reasons.
Okay, so, but this could be a backup plan if we don't get something that would be workable from River Road businesses. Councilor Kohler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Have we ever determined what it would cost to make it feasible to put a food truck there?
Yes.
And, remember about what that cost was?
It really depended on if we were going to do a structure or if we were going to do just a covered area or just do the electrical. If you're just doing the electrical and water, it really wasn't that much. It was just when you started talking covered area that Chris and I would go round and round on that one, but that was more expensive. It was more of a pole barn, which could cost significantly more. But to just prepare that area where you could pull food trucks in, plug them, have them, to code, it wouldn't be that much.
Thank you.
So are we agreed that looking at opportunities for gathering spaces that have food trucks is a direction we would like those dollars to go? I'm getting head nods. Are we agreed that we would like to make these funds available for businesses that would like to host and or expand food truck opportunities along River Road and find out how that would possibly work? And if we don't come up with something that would be workable on River Road, are you okay with revisiting my cockamamie idea of out at Keizer Rapids? If I could bring that one back. At that point, if it doesn't work. Counselor Kohler?
If we did the electrical and water, but I'm not interested in a great big pavilion area.
Okay. Well, $15,000 isn't going to buy you a pavilion. It'll buy you a pop-up. Yeah. But lights, got to have lights out there, but I've already talked to Mr. Lawyer about that. Okay, are we pretty good with that? Is that enough direction for you to go with?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Do we need it in the form of a motion, or is this consensus sufficient? Mr. Johnson?
I think it's sufficient. I would think, I'll talk to Mr. Wood and Mr. Hare. We would bring something back for council with a little more detail for you to actually adopt by vote.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks much. All right. Let's go on to item 8D as in, here we go again. Okay, the City Council Rules of Procedure. I have a feeling this is going to Mr. Johnson.
I have a feeling that that's where it should go, yes.
All right.
Thank you, Wes, Madam Mayor, and Council. So this part of the packet is in the packet. So I thought if, with the indulgence of the council, what we would do is go kind of both through my staff report and the rules, if I can find them. I covered them up with the master plan. Hang on. Yeah, okay. There we go. If we want to go through the staff report and kind of the rules at the same time, I think we can just buzz through that if that works for you folks. You can see in my staff report, section 2.1, and this was the House Bill, I believe, 2560 that the mayor was referring to earlier. And I will repeat for the council what I did for staff. The House Bill 2560 does not require a full video or Zoom-like option. You can have just telephone. The words that are used are to the extent reasonably possible to allow a remote access. And if you're allowing in-person testimony, you have to allow remote testimony. If it's a work session, for example, and you're not having testimony, you just have to allow access, and that can be audio only. But to whatever degree, there's several places all throughout the rules about testimony or public comment or whatever. And so to solve that and not having to put it a zillion places, I just put it up front. And that's the clause you can see redlined in 2.1. And so, just stop me. The ones I changed in redline are kind of pretty simple no-brainers. The ones that require council action are in the staff report. The next one was the attendance duty, and this gets into the remote issue with regard to not the public, but the council. And so it's a little bit in 3.4 and 3.5, but the main section, I believe, is in 3.10. And this general rule was originally from Councilor Collier, who felt that counselors should be in person. Of course, that was before the days of COVID. And so the general rule, as I stated in the staff report, is that counselor attendance is in person. House Bill 2560 applies to the general public, not the council. The council can set their own rules for their own members on physical attendance or not, and what the parameters of that is. And so I laid out some options for you. The current option is that you're in place unless, you're here physically in place unless there's an emergency declaration, or if the council, a majority of the council deems it, quote, important that one of your members appear remotely. And we've done that by telephone a few times, but we've had a vote each time. So that's one of the options, is to keep it in that way, which is the local rules. And you can see at the top of the staff report, I've got option A. The other option would be the same thing, but instead of a 2/3 vote, have it a simple majority vote. The third option is to provide virtual appearance without any vote at all. You could do that by limiting the number per year For example, one counselor could only appear 3 times or 4 times or whatever the time you want to be, and so there would be no discussion. The counselor could simply appear remotely as long as they didn't exceed whatever limit you set. And then the other option I put, D, is kind of the other extreme, which is unless there's an emergency declaration, you have to be there. And there's all sorts of different ways you can throw. Those are just not exclusive. You folks might come up with other options too. But I thought I'd stop there as we go down each one, Madam Mayor, so that you can discuss it. So the issue there is, do you want to make a change on section 310 from the current one, which you vote if a counselor wants to appear remotely?
All right. So right now, option A is the way we have it right now, where we can request it to be virtual when necessary. And then B, C, and D are additional options as just delineated. Is there a desire to change from what we have right now in terms of when somebody needs to appear remotely, and especially since we now have technology? Looking, no change, no change, no change. So what I'm getting from council is that we're good with option A.
Okay.
Leave the end place where the request can be made. And for example, that's what I requested, when, for last time in case I was going to have to be out of town, and council granted that. So, okay, so option A looks like is going to be the direction we want to go.
Okay, very good. The next one was placing an item on the agenda. Let me get the microphone over here so I can read this and talk at the same time. There was a recent change in this section with regard to, and this is section 6.4, which is on the bottom of page 214 of the packet. And this section states that the city manager may place an item on the agenda. However, placing major policy matters on the agenda will be determined by council. That is a recent change. And I talked to Mr. Hare about this. He and I both feel that that takes a lot of the main part of the job of the city manager away, and the idea of trying to define what a major agenda item is or isn't can be kind of problematic. So our recommendation is to return to the original language, which didn't have that decision point, if you will, of trying to decide what a major policy matter is. So we could just stop there and kind of discuss through that item. I don't know if Wes wants to add to that, but he and I have discussed that, and I think I characterized his ideas correctly.
It's just unusual in my experience. Usually, city councils delegate to the city manager the ability to be able to bring issues that are of importance to the council when they need to come. It allows you to be a little more flexible, to react more quickly. And again, it's my sense that if you can't trust your manager to bring appropriate things to you at the appropriate time, then you've got a bigger problem than, your rules. So I would argue strongly that I think your previous wording of your policy was probably more consistent with the way most cities operate, in my experience.
Okay, comments, Councilor Kohler?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I remember, when we were discussing this, there was a fear or a concern that a city manager would just be making policy and say, this is what we're going to do, without really counseling with the council, and just say, this is what we're going to do, rather than bringing something up for discussion and putting it on here where we're going to vote for this. So, I think that was one of the concerns when we discussed it.
Well, of course, this is a question of when do you bring things to the agenda, and not a question of the city manager making the decision in advance. I mean, I think the bigger problem is most city managers err on the side of caution because they don't want to find themselves being accused of trying to, take over the policy setting role of the city council. I'm not sure that the policy that was implemented addresses the problem you described. Because again, if anything, it makes it easier for the city manager to bring you things, not easier for the city manager to deny you the opportunity to vote.
Okay, continue, thank you. Follow-up. If, I don't mind the city manager putting something on the agenda,
Right.
but to all of a sudden just say, here's a change in ordinance because we feel we just need to do this without consulting the council, that I would have a problem with that.
Well, and I would too, and I think any city manager that attempted to do that would probably be looking for a new job. Yeah, I mean, you can't really, I mean, first of all, the city manager has no authority to enact an ordinance or change an ordinance or pass a resolution or any of those things. This is a question of getting things before the city council in an organized way, or in a way so that they can be appropriately discussed, deliberated, and adopted by the council. I don't think it's a very significant change, frankly. It's just, I think what you're doing is basically adding steps. If you're saying in order for the city council, or in order for the city manager to bring a matter before the city council, he has to get approval of the city council to bring it before the city council, then that to me is just adding time and steps that, you really don't need.
Final follow-up is just, I think that's where that came from,
Yeah.
was a concern. I'm not saying that this is what we need to have, I'm just saying that I think that's where it came from.
Sure. Well, and I think there's always tension, and I get it. I mean, at one point in my life, I was an elected official, and I understand that there's some tension between staff and elected officials about, what's policy and what's administration. But again, the power, the ability to be able to set policy, I think is pretty strongly embedded in the processes that are in use here at the city of Keizer. And I mean, you had an example tonight where if you'd left it up to me, I would have said, well, heck, go ahead and adopt that master plan. And just, say by reference that, people had a chance to see it. But you have a city attorney who's saying, no, we're going to, we want to make sure that this is something that will withstand any kind of legal challenge and scrutiny. By following a pretty rigid process, you're giving yourself the opportunity, or you're lessening the opportunity for somebody to be able to challenge what you've done. So again, I think this is just a fairly straightforward thing to do, and I don't see any harm in the original policy that you had.
Councilor Reed?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is just all, just an understanding of the purviews of the staff versus the purviews of the council. And I think that that was thrown into some confusion earlier on, but I think this is much more consistent with how we've done business and how it makes sense to do business and how we are respectful of our staff and their professionalism.
Thank you. So what I'm getting is that we would like to put it back, in my opinion, we should put it back to what it was, because I would rather have staff come to us if there's a policy question, because we are the policy makers, and double check with us. This is how we read it. This might change a policy, or this does change a policy, and run it by us, the policy makers, to either affirm or change, or go, nope, we're not going to change it. And then have staff go back and then implement what we, as the elected body, direct to move forward. So I would very much favor going back to the original language, so that we will have, so that the city staff knows that they are to come to us. We will work on hashing stuff out. If it takes us a little while, it takes us a little while, but we figure it out. That's why there's 7 of us to work through these complex issues. Elizabeth's here. So yeah, 7. Okay. Is there any disagreement on going back to the original language? Are we good?
Not here.
You good? I'm getting head nods. Go back to the original language.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. The next section is section 7, I think the next page, page 215 of the packet. And I did some red lines there. That was based on some of my thoughts and also an email I believe the mayor had sent some time ago. This jives a little better kind of how we do things in terms of the written communications. There was a question between quote written communications and written comments because people submit things. And I won't belabor all this language unless you want me to go through it, but it basically kind of makes things consistent with the process that we've been using. So, do you have any questions on kind of how we did that in terms of written communications being placed and summarized?
And that's straightened out. Thank you for responding to my email and getting those comments worked in. So this is much more consistent with what we're doing. And like I did tonight, acknowledge for the record when we receive written communications, and then under what circumstances they are admitted to the record and so forth. So I really appreciated that.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Everybody good?
Okay.
Okay.
The next section was section 17, which is quite a bit further, and there might be a few red lines in there. If I don't mention them, they were pretty minor. That is on page 228 of the packet. And thanks to Tracy Davis for a good idea there in terms of submitting for appointment for council vacancies. We have to confirm the candidate meets the requirements in terms of being an elector or a registered voter and a resident. And so this was adding a statement in that process to have a form as part of that vacancy process so that it's kind of more easily taken care of. So let's see. Any concerns on that part?
You good? Councilor Kohler?
Just a question, because there are quite a few committees that you're not required to be a member of the electorate to be on. That's not changing any of that,
No,
is it?
this is simply only for council vacancies.
Okay, thank you.
The next section was 18.14, and basically this is the flip side of the coin with regard to personal or in-person or virtual appearance, but by committees. So the current rule, let me turn to it here, 18.14, which is on page 233 of the packet, is basically no board or commission or work group may meet electronically except if the meeting is scheduled during an emergency declaration or at the chair's discretion and without objection by the committee. Committees may hold a meeting partially or totally electronically. So it's each committee decides for itself. Obviously, if it's something that kind of happens, and this can have, some of our meetings are only quarterly, and so the chair may make kind of a unilateral decision to be decided by the committee itself when they meet, or it might be the committee itself for the next meeting. But it's basically each meeting group decides for themselves whether they're going to be partially or totally electronic. And that's the current rule. I didn't have any recommendations, kind of the same issues as before, if you want to leave it that way and leave the discretion to each group or not. So that's the decision point for you folks.
Okay, anybody want to change it from leaving it to leaving it up to the committees to decide what they need? Okay, I'm good with leaving it as is.
Okay.
With that, I did have a question. So it talks about committees, boards, and task forces. I don't believe that applies to neighborhood associations, even though we authorize them, they do their thing.
That is correct. A neighborhood association is not a city-created committee. We acknowledge and quote recognize them, and we require that they do meet public meetings and public records law, but they are not a city committee.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate that.
Let's see, I think that is it, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
I think there was one other change. I think there was that your request on the next to last page, 28, or page 234, having to do with council goals.
Yes.
So that's section 20.1E, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was some detail on the work plan and council goals. Other than that, that is all I've got. So if there's no questions, I will take your direction and come back with a new version of the rules for you to look at and adopt.
Okay, everybody good with these decision points? Okay, so I'm getting consensus, good to go. But go ahead and bring us back the new version for us to adopt at the next meeting, you think?
It may be next meeting. I hope so.
Soon.
Soon.
At a meeting coming soon to a neighborhood near you. Okay, thank you. I appreciate your work on that and the detail. I have talked to a number of people and been able to share our rules and procedures with others, and it's really helped other cities in, okay, I'll take it on, in helping put their procedures together as well.
Mr. Hare indicates that our rules are more comprehensive than he's seen elsewhere, and I'm not sure it's a compliment or not, but but it is an interesting perspective.
Well, we are trying to leave breadcrumbs so that when we win the lottery and move to Tahiti, whatever, what we've learned in the process, we leave for others to follow. Of course, that would mean I'd have to buy a ticket at some point. Oh, well. Let's go on then to the, so we're good?
We're good.
All right. Oh, Counselor Starr?
I am so sorry. I just went back and looked
I went too fast for you.
You did. I actually just went back and looked at the email that I sent you. Way
Did I
back.
miss one of yours?
A long time ago.
Okay.
18.2 talks about the Volunteer Coordinating Committee is the only standing city committee
Yes.
that receives members by direct appointment from the city council.
Yes.
And my question was, I think we needed to edit that.
Yes, and
Yep.
I thought,
I just didn't see it in the memo, so I wanted to.
Counselor Starr, I apologize. I saw that and I went over it in my draft, but it doesn't look like the change got made that I can see.
Good catch. So we'll add the Community Diversity Engagement Committee.
And 18.2.
No, it's not in my staff report either. I'm not sure what happened to that tweak. I think, I'll get that fixed next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me.
And then also 18.1, there was also a change on not only adding the language that would do council goals and work plan, but also to review the purpose, need, and objective of all of our boards, committees, and commissions that are not statutorily required. We have some that are statutorily required, so not doing a budget committee is not an option. And why would we ever? Because that's one of the best committees ever, right, Mr. Wood? Of course. So, but to really look at our committees and commissions, because sometimes they either need an update or they have completed the work they were designed to do. Keizer Points of Interest Committee being one, it was able to evolve in a partnership with the Keizer Heritage, Keizer Cultural Center and the museum. So that's an example of one that we kind of watched, and then we were able to help it evolve to another organization. Councilor Starr?
We're not voting on CD, on the community diversity, are we?
To what?
We're not voting members, the liaisons?
Yes.
No.
Yes, you are.
Okay, then we need to change 18.12.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, that,
yeah, the committee, yeah, because you're both appointed, but you're voting members.
Right, so then we'll just need to edit 18.12 as well.
I can fix that. You're not a liaison. So it's technically correct. You're a member.
Right.
So council liaisons are non-voters, but you are a member appointed as a voting member.
Okay.
So I don't think it needs to be fixed, but I can look at maybe clarifying that.
Thank you.
Right, and there's another committee that's the same way, isn't it, aside from budget, of course. The which one? Audit, and isn't the Keizer Public Arts Commission, that's also your voting member. So we all already have that distinction. Tracy helps me keep track of that when we're doing appointments. We have actually in our list, it says whether you are a liaison or a voting member. Okay, thank you, good clarification. Anything else? Going once, going twice. Okay, let's go on to the consent calendar, which is huge. Councilor Reed.
There is only one item on the consent calendar tonight, and that is the resolution authorizing the city manager to sign meter reader service agreements with Meter Readers LLC.
Okay, any discussion necessary for that? Okay, let's, Councilor Reed.
I move that the Keizer City Council adopt the consent calendar. Item A, resolution authoring the city manager to sign meter reader service agreement with Meter Readers LLC.
I second consent calendar 9A, item 9A.
The consent calendar has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying no. Hearing no objection, motion passes unanimously with one absent. Other business. We have other business tonight.
Madam
Mr.
Mayor,
Johnson.
the city attorney is seeking your attention.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. After packet deadline last week, in communication with the council's choice for the new city manager, Adam Brown, we were able to get the employment contract signed, and it is before you tonight on the dais with a resolution authorizing the city manager and council president to sign that. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. So, yeah, this has been quite the process. It's been almost a year, but with the recruitment process and so forth, it's been several months, and I really appreciate all the work that everybody's put into the recruitment, the interviews and so forth, and here we are. So before you is the contract. Several items were sent to you via email so that you could look them over. And so any questions on the contract in its final form? All right, Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the Keizer City Council adopt resolution R 2022 authorizing the mayor and
Madam
council.
Mayor, I am sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But I forgot to put in my notes. You
have to
need to pass a motion to
suspend the rules.
Okay.
suspend the rules first.
All right.
Thank you, sorry.
Go.
I move that the Keizer City Council suspend the rules to consider the approval of the city manager contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council suspend the rules to take up the matter regarding the city manager contract. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously, one absent. Now, Councilor Reed.
Thank you. Are we good, Shannon?
We are good. Thank you very much.
Good to go. All right.
I move that the Keizer City Council pass resolution R 2022 authorizing the mayor and council president to sign city manager employment agreement with Adam J. Brown.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the Keizer City Council adopt resolution R 2022 authorizing the mayor and council president to sign city manager employment agreement with Adam J. Brown. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying no. Motion passes unanimously with one absent. Okay, that is fabulous news. All right, let's go on then to staff updates. First of all, was there any other business? Any other business?
Not for me, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Staff updates, Mr. Hare.
I have nothing this evening, other than to point out that I did manage to maintain decorum during the approval of the contract.
And after coming back from your wonderful vacation, that you'll be able to not get terribly cranky with us between now and when Mr. Brown arrives.
I plan to be in a good mood for the next 6-7 weeks.
All right, we will hold you to that. Thank you, and we do thank you also for your work as the interim. It has made a huge difference for us. We had a fantastic pro tem in Mr. Wood, a fantastic interim with you, Mr. Hare, and we are very thankful for keeping the ship upright going forward and ready to do great things in 22. Much appreciated. Ms. Davis.
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
All right. Mr. Wood.
Madam Mayor, City Council, I have two things tonight. Just wanted to give you a quick update. Back in early December, you authorized the city to enter into, or to submit a request to Marion County to get some ARPA funds to put in 2 turf fields. We did get a answer back from Marion County, and they gave us a very generous offer of $2 million to put in some turf fields. Along with that, they'd like us to contribute some money as well. At this point, we were taking a little bit of time to gather all of our facts and information so that we could present that to you and have a logical conversation. That is going to be one of the items that we talk about next week at the long-range planning meeting. If the folks there and you all decide that that's something we want to move forward with, we will bring back something at the 21st council meeting, and we can vote to move forward with that project if you so choose. So that's the update on that. The second update is the sewer reset period is officially over. I did lose this year. I went from 12 units to 13. So I fought as hard as I could, didn't use any water. It just didn't go my way this time. So I guess with two kids getting a little bit older, I guess it happens. So but everyone out there, you can go back to pressure washing your house and doing whatever else you want to do with water. So thank you.
Or not. Keep saving that water. Councilor Cole, you had a question?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Wood, in a discussion we had, we talked about checking with the county to see about other funds that might be available to apply towards soccer fields. Did that get followed up on?
It did, and I had a very good discussion with the county. They did identify a Parks and Rec grant program through the state. That's the primary area. We also have other opportunities that we could look at as far as funding this goes, potential for donations or field naming rights or those kind of things as well. So it was a very productive discussion. Thank you.
And I assume that will be part of our discussion.
Yes, it will be.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Chief.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr.
Nothing,
Johnson.
Madam Mayor, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Council reports. Councilor Duran.
I have nothing this evening.
All right. Councilor Starr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just quickly, we had our Community Diversity and Engagement Committee meeting on Tuesday, March 1st. We are well on our way, the committee, of drafting a mission and purpose statement. So that draft has went out for the group to consider. Hopefully we'll be able to finalize that at our April meeting. And the final thing is just a community awareness announcement. But April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and so I would encourage all of you to dig out your royal blue in your wardrobes and wear blue in the month of April. The theme again this year is Paint the Town Blue. And also just please carve out time in your calendar on April 1st to decorate your car and participate in the car parade that goes from the state fairgrounds to the state capitol on Friday, April 1st. Yes, that is April Fool's Day. But April 1st starting at 8 o'clock from the state fairgrounds. Thank you.
Fantastic. And if you would get that information to Ms. Davis, she can put that in our weekly, to remember to do that as well. Thank you very much. Councilor Kohler.
Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just also wanted to say thank you to Councilor Starr for making a little flight over to Ontario.
Very much appreciate that.
Thank you. I attended Food for Thought this last month, and it was pretty thoughtful thing that they said, fear, what are you willing to take a risk for? And then one of the things that came out was the most dangerous people are people that have nothing left to lose. And so need to consider what you have to lose and what you're willing to do to keep it. On May 12th is the Percy event coming up. And in one of our chamber meetings this month, we had citizenship in Oregon. The class meets Friday at the chamber office from 5 to 6:30. So if you are not a U.S. citizen and you want to become one, come to the chamber office Friday at 5 to 6:30. And Francisco Lopez, I believe, is one that teaches that. It was very enlightening to learn about that. Clyde Creek Watershed Council has a little thing called the Civic Center Cleanup coming this Saturday at 9 o'clock. Come and have fun with us. I understand we're going to have punch cookies and maybe some coffee even. So if everybody comes, like we have in the past, that'll be a 2-hour or so event. It'll be a lot of fun. Soggy Day in the Park. Soggy Day in the Park is April 23rd. River Keepers are going to be having an event earlier in the day, Earth Day, from 10 to noon. So the Soggy Day in the Park is from noon to 3. Come and participate, have a lot of fun with us. I attended most of the audit committee meeting. That was good. And the Keizer Neighborhood Association meeting, went to that, and we talked about the candidate forum, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m. here in the Civic Center. We're going to be talking about CD6, and there should be 7 candidates there. And then Keizer Community Dinner served 162 people, and that was pretty good considering everything we've been through. And again, we do that to bring our community together. That might be something you might want to talk about in the diversity engagement meeting. And then the SEDCOR lunch is this Wednesday at noon. I have a conflict. All of a sudden now I was signed up to go to that. If somebody else was liking to go to that, that would be great.
And just let you or Tracy know, and then we can change the.
Let Tracy know.
Okay.
Tracy knows everything.
Well, that is true. All right, thank you very much. Councilor Reed.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to begin by expressing condolences to the family of Hector Serratos Rojas. He was a McNary student who passed a couple of weeks ago, and we are very sorry for his loss and for the family. And I attended the funeral mass last Saturday for it, and there was also a funeral. And it's just very, very sad for our community, and particularly at McNary. He was a student of mine, and he was an exceptional young man. So that is very sad. Along the McNary, other business at McNary, I went to the One Act Festival, and that was fun to see. One Act plays written, directed, and acted by students. And I also attended the symphony concert with Councilor Kohler, saw him there. There was a tractor display at Cascade Outdoor Store here. It was put on by the Tractor Pullers of America. I was expecting pulling of things by tractors, but that wasn't happening. But we still got to see lots of cool tractors. And my grandsons had a good time there. So that was a fun event, especially as gorgeous a day as it was on Saturday. It was fun to be outside. Have the Keizer Heritage Board meeting coming up this week, along with the Commissioner's Breakfast. And the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance Board meeting and West Keizer Neighborhood Association meeting, in addition to the candidate forum. So, busy week.
Yeah, and Thursday seems to be a convergence of the stars day. Everything is just falling on that day. Councilor Herrera.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had kind of a busy week. Variety of meetings, but the highlights were mostly, I'm preparing for the judicial fitness, which we have like 80 cases, and that's going to be in a couple of weeks. Actually, the 16th, I believe. Also, tomorrow's Greater Gupson Neighborhood Association meeting at 7 p.m. Kind of conflicts with parks, but we try to hit both of them. Wednesday, we have our OYN, Oregon Latino Leadership Network. And we're going to have a panel discussing some election stuff. And what else? We have a Latino Business Alliance on Thursday, very early in the morning. I think Councilor Duran and I will be there. I attended the peace rally in support for the Ukrainian people. And watching the images on TV is really hard to watch some of the stuff that's going on, and it's heartbreaking. And I think that it's a very tough situation, and I think we should all get behind the Ukrainian people. And we're gonna do another rally here in Keizer, by the way. Also, we have by the way, Women's History Month. I don't know if you know the theme, but the theme actually is gender equality in a sustainable future. That's what it is. I thought that was kind of interesting, and it's very interesting how how that came about. Anyway, pretty much that's all I have. Pretty much, I do want to mention something about the young man. I thank you for bringing that up. That's really hard when you have a young person. It's very sad, and but they'll get through this, and hopefully the family will be okay. So thank you very much. I appreciate that, bringing that up. Thank you. That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much. Youth Councilor Coleman.
All right. I don't have very much tonight. I just have my blood drive on Wednesday, which is very exciting. Finally, I feel like I've been talking about it for a while now, so it's finally happening on Wednesday. I don't really have much. I know that we're gonna have our first assembly in 2 years coming up this March. So that's gonna be crazy. But spring sports are starting up and the weather's starting to get nice, so everyone just enjoy it because I'm very excited. That's all.
And we'll see you Saturday with...
Oh, yes, Saturday. Yes,
Yeah.
9 to 12 here. We're going to beautify City Hall, and I'm very excited to be here.
Yep, you and, several dozen of your best friends.
Yes, all my leadership people.
Yep. Fantastic. Definitely looking forward to Saturday morning. Just a couple of things to add. I did tune in to the Zoom for the Salem City Manager, Steve Powers. It was funny. It was heartfelt. It was just a great time for people to say thank you to Steve Powers as he heads back to the Upper Peninsula, making him a Youper. Apparently, that's a term for people who live in the upper area of Michigan. So I learned something. But I also learned what a difference that Steve has made to Salem, and already was aware of the difference he's made in our region in his tenure here, and we wish him the very best. Something about, grandkids and being able to enjoy them a little up close and personal, it's something I totally understand. Been busy with the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, and yes, I did somehow end up back on the executive committee. I guess once you're on, then they never let you off. But getting ready for it, we received the audit report, preparation for budget, and with Scott Dadson and the staff at the COG, really looking at how to continue to expand the ability to provide services to cities throughout our 3-county region. And also, a tremendous amount of work has gone into participating in the legislative session We were able to help support legislation. Some of it made it through, some of it didn't. That's kind of how it rolls with the legislature. One of the pieces of legislation that did make it through, though, was one by a city councilor from Salem, a current legislator, Chris Hoy, that's going to help with increasing the ability to site shelters and shelter areas for people who are experiencing homelessness. That was something that zoning from DLCD was, the Department of Land Conservation and Development, was making it difficult to do, and removing that barrier so we can be more effective in using land that, except for a zone label, makes a whole lot of sense for being used for that purpose. So we're going to be able, as a general area, will be able to do that more efficiently. Coming up, going to be doing an interview for the League of Oregon Cities Strategic Planning. Then I'll be going on then and working more again with the Legislative Committee for the Council of Governments. We're going to be looking at how we're going to get message out again, once again, to Oregon Department of Transportation for some of the key projects we need to get funded with the one portion of the $1.2 billion that came to Oregon for transportation from ARPA. $400 million is what they call flexible funds, and they keep asking us, how do you want to spend it? How do you want to spend it? We keep telling them the same thing. We'll say it again. Aurora Donald, the interchange, Newburgh Dundee bypass, McGill-Christ, some really key projects that we need done. They keep asking, we keep telling them we need those projects done, and it benefits all modes of transportation, and most importantly, saves lives. Key issue. So we'll keep on punching on that one. The other thing is that wasn't mentioned yet is on Friday night, there will be the National Association of Women in Construction, and they're back again in person. 2 years ago was one of the last events before everything shut down, and so it's going to be wonderful to be back with these amazing women leaders in construction, and delighted that Council President Smith, Councilor Starr, and Councilor Reed will be joining me for that. And then just want to bring to everybody's attention that construction is also back, and that is a construction competition with canned food that makes all sorts of wonderful structures, and it's going to be at the Grand Theater in Salem. Construction is on April 30th, and I want to thank Council President Smith and Councilor Duran joining me in helping to sponsor a structure at that construction. All of the canned food used in these structures is then donated to the Marion Polk Food Fair. So it's win-win-win. It really brings attention to the women in construction, to the construction trades, and it benefits our food bank. That's how we roll. So with that, that's pretty much what we have. Of course, next Monday night, we have the Long Range Planning Task Force. I'm really looking forward to that conversation. Anything else that we need to cover tonight? For agenda input, we will meet then next Monday at 6 o'clock as the Long Range Planning Task Force, and this will be by Zoom, so every member of the Budget Committee is also a member of the task force. On March 21st, we will meet at 7 p.m. in regular session, and then on April 4th, we will meet at 7 p.m. in regular session. Anything else for the good of the order? Seeing none, the time is 8:59. We are adjourned. Thank you all.